Everyone, this is Raidu from Stixel. Okay, Srikanth, you need to go on mute. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
First of all, I request everybody, if someone want to interact, please come up from mute and do so. Otherwise, I request everybody to be on mute at all times. Okay. Welcome to everyone for this training session. I see Bakau, Deepa, Iyak, Mahesh, Patricia, and POIT. That's, I believe that's Chad.
That's Chad.
Right. Praveen, Razdeep from Bangalore, POIT, Ramesh, Srikanth, Sudhir, and Sunny Kapoor. Welcome everyone. I would like to take a moment to introduce Aditya. Aditya is our HCI expert. So he is a SAP certified engineer having an extensive experience in various tools on SAP and also SAP ABAP, PI, PO, and also ECC on the latest version. So he has worked, his core competences are SAP ABAP, SAP PI, SAP ABAP HR, Dell Boomi, Java, HANA Cloud integration, and also he is very well versed with Groovy scripting, has excellent experience in web services.
Deepika, you need to go on mute.
In addition to that, Aditya has dealt with many implementation projects, upgrade projects on SAP on core applications, which is SAP on-premise. In addition to that, he's been a stalwart in executing all the integration projects for various clients across UK, US, and Asia Pacific. So he has worked with SuccessFactors, with HANA Cloud integrations, SAP HR on-premise, SuccessFactors with Dell Boomi integrations, and also ABAP, PI, and Java. So having said this, Aditya, thank you so much for taking this initiative for all of us. And I would leave it to you to introduce yourself and get this training started. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Raidu, for that introduction. I mean, I never knew that I had this much of qualifications until you mentioned it. So thanks a lot for mentioning those. And hello all, my name is Aditya. I have an experience integrating with SuccessFactors from 2013, and I have made use of Dell Boomi, HCI, PI primarily to integrate with SuccessFactors, but I have also supported a few of the applications like HANA Cloud Platform applications to be able to integrate with SuccessFactors for our custom form designs wherever required. So since this session is primarily on HANA Cloud integration, so we would be dealing the integration part with SuccessFactors, and that is the primary motive. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Please let me know when you're able to view my screen. So Raidu or Agni?
Yeah.
Are you able to view it?
Yeah, we can see your screen, yes.
Okay. So this is the agenda of the HCI training plan that we have. So today being the first day, we have had our introductions. Maybe we'll just take a small round of introductions from each one of you, so that I can understand that from which technology you're coming from and what are the kind of examples that I can use when trying to explain the different functionalities that we have. So that would cover the introduction part. And then after that, we'll move on to the web UI part. So in HANA Cloud integration, we have two of the parts. One is the offline development that we do in Eclipse tool in our laptops or PCs. And the other one is that you can directly go ahead and perform a few of the tasks like configuring the iFlows and deploying them from the web UI as well, even monitor them for that matter. Then we'll cover up the cloud integration versus the traditional integration on-premise tools that we may have. And then the Eclipse part, just an introductory part to Eclipse, that what the tool is about in case if somebody from Boomi background, they might not have used it earlier. Like I struggled when I newly started working on Eclipse. And then we can have different introduction to different perspectives available in HCI, which we use for our success factors integration developments, like creating an iFlow and other parts. So those would be the perspectives. And the operations in the IDE, wherein we can check the node structure. Maybe I can give you a brief about the HCI tenant management and the IFL map nodes and other details. So that will cover our first day agenda. And the next day, maybe we can take it as we move forward. So
Yeah, that's right, Aditya.
Sure, Agni, thanks. So having said that, maybe we can, if you're okay, we can just go ahead with a small introduction. Like you can just mention that which is the technology you have been working on in the past. So that way it might help. So we can...
Yes, we can start with the POIT team. And Aditya, just before we get into the introduction, we have a mixed group of people here. We have the team from POIT, which is our integration partner. We have a team from Baton Rouge, the North America team for Stixis, and we have the Del Boomi team, the offshore team from Stixis Offshore Development Center. So there's a mix of crowd you have here. I would like to start. Let's start with Bakao.
Sure.
Bakao, you there?
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, okay. So let's start the introduction from you quickly.
Okay. My name is Bakao Onofua. Currently work with Stixis Technologies at the Development Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. My background, ranges from core Java software development, so SAP ERP development in ABAP. Work with various modules in ECC, primarily FI, the logistics module, HR, a bit of HR. Okay. Yeah. Then I'm an SAP PIPO consultant. I've had up to 9 years experience in SAP PIPO development, starting from the era of XI down to PI, now to PO. In ACI, I would say I have a beginner's experience in ACI. Okay, so this training will be highly beneficial to me, at least to get my hands dirty. With success factors, I have roughly about 1 year experience, integrating success factors with third-party modules. Thank you.
Thanks, Bakao. So we have PI. Okay. And
Okay.
Can you-
Deepa.
Yeah, Deepa.
Hi, everyone. Good morning and good evening. I'm a functional consultant working with Stixis Technologies. I have worked briefly with HCI and extensively with EAI, PI, Del Boomi middleware, and predominantly into adrenaline and success factors and SAP in scope. And I'm more functional and less technical. Thank you.
Thanks, Deepa.
Thanks, Deepa. Okay, Deepika. Aditya, I'm just going by the alphabetical order.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thanks.
Deepika.
Yes, sir. Good morning, team. and good evening. I'm basically into SAP technical. Started with CRM technical, then basic all modules of ABAP, and right now working with the Dell Boomi team for the HR stuff. So since 1 year, I'm interacting with the success factors. And brief experience about PI. That's it.
Thank you, Deepika. So, Yexuri, I don't know whether I've correctly pronounced your name because I'm meeting you for the first time.
Yes, it's correct.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I'm working for PYT Thailand. I have some experience in HCI as well as a PI. Normally I'm working as the technical consultant.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mahesh?
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mahesh. I have like 16 years of experience in Java platform, core Java, J2E, and database part. I have like 6 months experience on PI as well as on SuccessFactor.
Okay. Tricia?
Hi, I'm Trisha. I am with Poet, and I'm more on the functional side, but I do a little bit of the technical side when I want to break things for you guys. But I've been working in SAP for 15 years now, and with SuccessFactors for about 3 years. And I've done some PI actual development in the past, so I'm here to get an understanding of what HCI is about.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tricia. Next, I would like to move into Chad. Good morning, Chad.
Hey, good morning, Agni. Good morning, everyone. Good evening. So this is Chad Eady. I'm based in New York. I've been with Prezo IT for the past couple of years. Been working in SAP over 10 years and also SuccessFactors for the past 3+ years. So I play a dual kind of a techno-functional role for Prezo IT. I'm the client-facing employee central lead and also for a couple other modules in SuccessFactors. I also happen to have a technical background in Java, ABAP, WebDen Pro, PI, Boomi, and more recently in HCI. And I've used the HANA Cloud Platform before. And I actually already installed Eclipse on my laptop. So looking forward to the training sessions. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Chad. Praveen?
Hi all, this is Praveen here. I have a good experience on Dell Boomi as a technical consultant. So far I worked for the Salesforce and NetSuite Workday. Currently more than 1 year I'm working on SuccessFactors integration. Thank you.
Thank you, Praveen. Rajdeep?
Hey, hello everyone. I'm Rajdeep. I'm a PYT from last couple of months, and in total I have around 6 years of experience. I've started it with application development in Java, and then I moved to SAP SuccessFactors. With SuccessFactors, I worked into core platform modules, and then I'm with SuccessFactors from like close to 3 years as of now. And I'm this training HCI. I've worked closely with integrations team, but I haven't got the opportunity to work on core HCI platform till date. So I'm keenly looking for the benefits out of this training. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Rajdeep. Ramesh, you're next.
Hi, good morning and good evening. This is Ramesh. Totally 6 years of experience, in which around 2 years of experience on Dell Boomi. Right now working in the statistics technology, Bangalore location. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ramesh. Shrikant?
Hello everyone, this is Srikanth. I have been working on Dell Boomi for the past 3 years.
Okay. Shrikant Reddy?
Hello everyone, good morning. This is Srikanth. I'm working for Statistics Technology. I have 11 years of experience in SAP PI PO, and from last 1.5 years, I'm working in SuccessFactors integrations. Thank you.
Thank you, Srikanth.
Srikanth, welcome. You are hiding, man.
No, boss, I'm not hiding.
Okay.
Sudhir?
Yeah. Hi team. Like I am having around 6 years of experience into. It is totally into integration only. I started my career on TIPCO, then moved to Delbumi. For Delbumi and HCI, I am working on success factors integration.
Okay, thank you, Sudhir. Sunny.
Hey guys, Sunny here. I'm working as a technical lead at Eclipse, and I have total 9 years of experience and 3+ years of experience integrating success factors with SAP and third-party systems via Boomi, and I have beginner's level of experience with HCI and HCP.
Thank you, Sunny. So, Aditya, I think we have covered everybody, whoever is present right now in the session. So, whoever joins in can introduce himself or herself as and when he or she joins in. So, I would request everybody to keep your cell phones on mute mode and also yourself on mute mode on Zoom. Whenever you have any questions or you want to just interact with Aditya, just use the raise hand option, and you can feel free to ask the questions and make it a more interactive session. So Aditya, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Agni, for that round of introductions. And thanks all. I see that we have a rich and diverse experienced team amongst us. So it would be beneficial for me as well because, I mean, I have experience in success factors, but as you know, that many of the clients may have some confined requirements. So maybe your experiences will enhance my skill set as well. And I would also get to know a few of the scenarios that we may have never encountered in our landscape as of now. So I look forward for this to be a highly interactive session. So please feel free to stop me in between. And in case if any of the topics or any of the things that I'm trying to explain needs further explanation, please stop me then and there itself, and we can discuss it in detail. So I would go ahead with the web UI design. So I hope you are able to view the web UI on my screen. I have just opened the HANA Cloud integration, the web UI. Agni, if you can just confirm. Because I just shared this one program, so I'm not sure how it works in the screen share. Okay, so this is the beginners or the first point of how do I say, interaction with HCI. So whenever we say HANA Cloud integration, it is actually on top of HANA Cloud platform. It is built on the HANA database. So going forward from 2017, I believe that they would be renaming HCI to HCP PI, which is HANA Cloud Platform Process Integration. So that is one of the things that I recently came across, and I just thought that I'll share in this meeting. So that being said, so as you can see from the URL itself, this is the URL wherein your tenant resides. So any of the customer who has purchased HANA Cloud integration as a licensed product from SAP, they are given a space in their HANA Cloud, which is also known as a tenant, which is dedicated for the customer. And all the iFlows or all the different types of configurations or the security artifacts that you have or that you will require in the future would be within this particular tenant landscape only. So it can be considered as a subset of a wide network on the cloud. And SAP provides these from different data centers. As of now, I'm not sure whether they have differentiated between the US and the European data centers, but primarily they are operating out of the US data centers as of now. So, yes, I'm sorry, I was mentioning about the URL. So if you see the URL, it points on to hana.ondemand.com. So that's again supports the fact that the HANA Cloud platform, HANA Cloud integration is built on top of the HANA database and on top of HANA Cloud platform. Now, this is the first screen that we see whenever we log into our tenant workspace. So this can be considered as the web workspace equivalent to your Eclipse workspace that you usually build. And this gives you an overview of what kind of different features we have. So on the left-hand side top, you have 3 horizontal lines, which has the menu. In the menu, you have 4 options. The first one is to discover. As the name suggests, SAP has provided many of the pre-packaged integration flows, something like they call as packaged integrations, which they provide for different applications, which most of the customers in today's world make use of, and they would require some kind of integrations to be flowing in and out of SuccessFactors from those. So primarily, since HCI is being sold as a preferred integration tool for SuccessFactors, so they have these pre-packaged integrations. But let's say, for example, going down the line, if your organization decides to integrate Cloud for Customer as well, using the same HCI instance that you have, so SAP, whenever we raise a request to them, they allocate the other packs relevant to Cloud for Customer as well for us. So let's say you want to integrate your C4C system. For those who do not know C4C, that is nothing but a customer relationship module on cloud. So C4C has been an offering from 2012 or 11. I'm not sure of the exact year, but we had a brief chance of looking into that on 2013. So that also primarily integrates with the HANA Cloud integration. And any of the other cloud applications, let it be non-SAP applications, you can still make use of the HANA Cloud integration to integrate those applications. But those would be your custom developments. The rest, whichever are interacting in and out of your SAP systems or the SuccessFactors system, SAP usually provides you with the pre-packaged content. So you can, in the discover option of the menu, you can go ahead and discover these different pre-packaged integrations. The most commonly used, I can give you an example, is whenever you want to replicate the employee master data from your SuccessFactors system to, let's say, your on-premise ERP system or your on-premise HCM system, if you have any. And the second could be that you want to replicate your cost centers from your on-premise SAP finance system onto your SuccessFactors cloud. So since cost center is a basic entity of the finance system, so Employee Central, or SFEC as we call it, SuccessFactors Employee Central, is not considered to be a master data source for cost centers. So it usually works the other way around, from SAP to SF. So that being said, these are a few of the common iFlows. Any of the third-party iFlows I can mention is when you want to, let's say, pass in the time information from your Chronos time management applications into SuccessFactors, or else if you wish to pass the employee master data from SuccessFactors to your Chronos application. These kind of packages are also there. Then you also have a few of the pre-configured packages, like passing the employee master data onto a third-party payroll system. So it contains all your compensation details, your leave details, your work shift, your work timings, and things like those. So those are all pre-built, and we do have an option of configuring them, though we do not have an option of modifying any of the pre-packaged contents that is provided by SAP. So as of now, they do not allow us to even download or make changes to it. It is configure only, as we'll see in the next steps, what we mean by configure only and how it differentiates from the custom artifacts that we build and the ones that have been provided by SAP. So that covers up the discover part. So basically here, you can go to the all tab, you can search based on, let's say, employee data, EMP, and you'll get different pre-packaged packaged integrations, listed over here. So if you click on any one of them, it usually, oh, my bad. Okay, so it usually takes you into this particular screen wherein you can see all the details of this particular iFlow. What is it about? How it helps you in meeting your business needs. And also it provides you a few of the documentation. So it lists down all the artifacts that you have inside it that we'll cover up later. Then it also lists the different types of documents that may be relevant to this particular iFlow. So these documents may contain some of the configuration guides, or it may contain a few of the necessary configuration steps, or else use cases in many of the guides I have seen that there are a few of the use cases based on the custom fields that you may require from SuccessFactors or you wish to upsert into SuccessFactors. And the last one is it provides you with the tags that what are the different tags based on which you can search this particular iFlow wherever you wish to. So, and here you can see that the mode is configure only. And if you wish to, instead of going into the details, if you just wish to simply have a look at what exactly this is about, maybe a small overview. So once you hover on top of the tile, it gives you an option as flip. Click on the flip and it gives you a small description, a one-liner kind of a thing, that why this integration package has been provided to you. Okay, so let's say, for example, we are interested in the master data replication. So we have SuccessFactors, yep, here it is. So we have SuccessFactors Employee Central to SAP ERP Employee Data Replication. And I see there is...
So Aditya?
Yes,
Deepa has a question for you. Deepa?
Yes, I'm struggling to get to the chat window over here. Okay, there it is. Now I'm able to...
Deepa?
Yeah, hi Aditya. Aditya, just one question. You mentioned about those pre-packages where you can't modify anything. Assuming, you know, we have some custom fields that's required to be sent into the master data interface. You know, how much can we leverage this pre-packaged stuff, you know, instead of creating an all new interface, what we could do in leveraging this pre-packaged integration?
Yes, Deepa. So in the newest or the latest versions, SAP has provided us with different extensibility options. So the pre-packaged content, it automatically gets all your custom objects, whichever there is a process property that we'll cover up in the later stages during design. So there you can mention something like, let's say, for example, you have cust_job grade is one of the objects I know of. So if you have cust_job grade, you mention it over there, it will pull up all the relevant information from that particular custom object. And it will, based on the logic, it will send it across. And whichever info type you wish to replicate it to, you can go ahead and create your custom input 1001 or 2 and so on. And you can replicate the data into those.
So does it mean that, you know, we can also do the logic into the pre-packaged, or it's just the straight mapping that we could do with the custom?
Yes, it is only the straight mapping as of now. And now for the mapping, actually, they are coming up with mapping extensibilities. So that also I'll cover up. That is yet to be launched. I haven't seen it in any of the pre-packaged contents as of now. But they have provided with an option wherein you can design your custom iFlow. They will let you know that what is the WSDL, or I mean, it is fairly easy in HCI to deduce that what is the WSDL or the XML type which is coming into our iFlow. Then we can map the fields accordingly to the target structure, which will be provided by SAP, and we can pass it back to the main iFlow. So they have given like kind of enhancement points, which are nothing but web service call to different iFlows within the same tenant.
Okay, thanks, Aditya.
Sure, Deepa.
And we have a quick question from Rajdeep as well. Rajdeep, please go ahead.
Hey, thanks. Aditya, quick one. On the screen that is being displayed currently, I see that there's a number beside all when you don't filter it out with this one. So in the previous screen, I saw it as 56. So does that mean as of now we have 56 pre-packaged content in total, including SAP and non-SAP products?
Absolutely, that is correct.
Perfect.
So we have a total of 56, or 56 might be given to this particular customer instance. Because for example, now when we bought this HANA Cloud integration, or when we entered a contract, so that time we might have mentioned that we would be using it for SuccessFactors integration. But later on, if we ask for C4C, they might have other packs as well, but I haven't seen them, so I cannot comment on those.
Not a problem. So is there a screen maybe at the support site or somewhere where we can see all the available prepackaged content for SAP and non-SAP products in case you are aware about it, or else I can search it out.
Usually I'll just search it over Google, because over here, I'm sure it would be a restricted view, but whichever are applicable for us, we can always look into this particular Discover screen only.
Yeah, I think we can check it out at support.sap.com.
Absolutely. So you have help.sap.com/cloudhr.
Yeah.
Or cloud for, that is the number 4, HR. So that is the link. You can go ahead and you can search for the prepackaged integrations.
Great.
We have a very detailed documentation over there.
Yeah. Thanks, Aditya. Thanks.
Okay. So this is the Discover space. So let's say, for example, okay, I'm sorry, moving ahead. So for example, if we are interested in having the employee central to SAP ERP employee master data replication, because this is a very standard thing that most of the organizations will absolutely use, because if they are going ahead with SuccessFactors, they would like their source of truth to be the SuccessFactors system. So the master data resides in SuccessFactors and it is replicated onto different systems, primarily being the SAP ERP or SAP on-premise HCM system. Now this can be used for on-premise as well as the cloud SAP payroll system as well. So SAP, if you know about this SuccessFactors suite, we have SuccessFactors, then we also have EC Payroll, which is the payroll system provided by SAP on cloud. So this pre-packaged content can be used for integrating with either the cloud or the on-premise, or in case if you have both, then you can copy it into multiple names and you can use it for integrating both the systems, which is usually, I haven't seen that kind of a use case, but could be one of the possible scenarios. So once we select the integration of choice, we just go ahead and copy it to the workspace, which is the icon over here on which I'm hovering as of now. So this copies into the workspace wherein you have the design part. So once I click on this, it will go ahead and check. So it has been already copied, so I'll just close it as of now. So once you have copied it, the discover part is done. We move on to the design part. So when we go into the second menu option, which is the design phase, it shows all the different integration packages that you might have created. Now, integration package does not necessarily mean that it will have always one iFlow inside it. So integration package could very well be thought of as a root folder, wherein you have all your integration artifacts listed. So it may contain multiple iFlows, or it may have only a single iFlow as required. So usually in all the SAP prepackaged contents, we have 1 or 2 iFlows at most, and the rest are the value mappings and other details that we can cover later on. So when you enter the design phase, all you need to do is you need to search for the integration package that you are interested in configuring. So this is the one. No. This is the one. So once you click on the integration package, it takes you to the same view that we entered from the discover phase. Only that time it was not configured. Now we are going ahead and kind of designing it, that what are our end systems, which are the systems we want to integrate with, and what are the different selection criteria or the filter criteria that the interface supports. So in this particular place, as you can see over here, the mode is configure only. So all you can do for this particular iFlow is that you can just go ahead and configure it. You cannot download it. You cannot modify it. It is owned by SAP, and it usually gives you the last modified date and timestamp over here. And in cases, for example, SAP has scheduled an upgrade onto this iFlow. Let's say on 10th of October, there is an upgrade scheduled on this particular iFlow. So over here on the left-hand side where you see the iFlow package name, there would be a small notification at the bottom in red stating that to be upgraded on the date. So that way we can easily get to know that, okay, this iFlow which we are trying to configure would be upgraded by SAP. And if you would like, you can apply the upgrade straight away to your test tenant, and you can go ahead and test it. SAP notifies you in an advance of 6 to 8 weeks, I believe. And you do have time to test all your modifications during that time until the update would be pushed onto your tenant. So for the production items, if you feel, for the production tenant, if you feel that this is something that we do not want as of now to be pushed on, we can definitely request SAP, but I'm not sure how it works different. What is the difference basically in Boomi and in HCI on the pushing of updates, but it definitely notifies you over here. That is there. So again, it has 3 tabs. The second tab is the documents associated with the iFlow. So over here in this iFlow, like you have the integration guide, that how do you replicate the master data from EC to SAP ERP. So this again leads you, these are the same guides which Rajdeep mentioned, that we can go to help.sap.com and search for the integration guides over there. It is the same document, but made available on the iFlow level so that it's easier for us to locate. And the third is nothing but the tags, which we very rarely use. So moving on to the first tab, it lists down all the artifacts which are associated with this particular iFlow or this particular integration pack. So in this case, we have just one single iFlow, which will push the employee master data from Employee Central to SAP ERP Employee. And it is for the data replication, basically. It also lists the version. If you would like to show details, you can click on the version number and it will give you the details as to what is the current version and how it has been upgraded, which was the date on which it was created, and so on. And this versioning is pretty important in our custom iFlows as well, because we can always create, in the design phase, we can always create our own folders, and we can upload our own custom design over here. So instead of uploading directly onto any of the integration packages, we can create a new integration package, and we can upload our iFlows from our Eclipse version onto the web UI for a common data repository model. Like usually I've seen with people, we do have a few of you in this meeting as well, who have been working on Java applications. You usually have some place, maybe a SharePoint folder or a common server folder wherein you keep all your code snippets so that anybody who wants to use it checks it out, uses it, and then checks in again or makes modifications to it. So similarly, on the web UI, you can think of it as that particular space. So it can be thought of as an intermediate stoppage for all the artifacts because before they have been actually deployed onto your tenant. So it will list. Yes, Bakar.
Yeah, this is Bakar. Yeah, just a question on what you've explained a few minutes ago. From experience from the integration project we did with SuccessFactors, we usually face a problem when SAP, maybe they performed an upgrade, on SuccessFactors, and somehow, whatever development you've done, kind of breaks, post that upgrade exercise. Okay, so I mean, I don't know whether we might face the same scenario with HCI. Okay, you mentioned earlier that for some packages, they usually make upgrades on them, or they perform upgrade exercise on them. Okay, is there any way to actually mitigate that problem?
Yes, Pakao. The one way that we have mitigated that particular risk is usually whenever you, for example, if you are doing a model operation in Eclipse, whenever you download the metadata for all the entities, let it be OData or SF API, whenever you are downloading it, it creates an EDMX file for you to use.
Yeah.
So that same EDMX should be used across the flows. So just copy and paste it into different integration packages. And whenever you are doing an operation model, just refer to that particular EDMX definition always. And let's say going down the line, if someday SAP upgrades, all you have to do is replace one particular EDMX file and it will reflect in all of them. So the only difference the upgrade might make is that it might have a few of the fields, new fields available, or else the existing fields not available for the API visibility.
Yeah, that was actually a major challenge for us, on one of the previous projects.
Yep. So in Boomi and PI, we usually download the WSDLs and we get the definitions of the XSDs correct in sync with success factors again. So over here also, we usually tend to do the same thing.
Okay.
But I mean, since we, as you know, in Eclipse, two different folders cannot refer cross-folder path into the same EDMX, or it may be, but I'm not sure on that. So we usually use to update only one EDMX and use it across the flows. So that actually helps us.
Okay, thank you.
Aditya, just one more question. Talking about upgrades, we also see some of the foundation objects moving into MDFs, and it's been going on for some time. And over a period of time, we will see all the foundation objects getting into the MDFs. During this transition, will the interfaces get impacted, at least in HCI? I've not seen this of much impact in Boomi or PI or in EAI, but with HCI, will this be an impact?
So Deepa, let me understand this. So when we move it from a foundation object, when we move
so for example, right, let me give you an example. Previously, job classification was with FO. It was a foundation object, and it was moved as an MDF object, in the recent past. So, but the API is everything. We call it from the FO object, but wherein currently it is an MDF object and not an FO. So usually what happens, SAP takes care of this transition and we need not modify the existing program as such.
Absolutely, Deepa. So that is what I was coming on to, that, for example, I've seen in cases, the name of the API is the same and the field names are also the same. Since it is still exposed out of the OData model that SuccessFactors supports. So in those kind of cases, from an integration perspective, it is the same thing. Internally, it has been changed within SuccessFactors, so that doesn't concern the integration party. But in case, let's say, for example, earlier you might have seen FO company, and now you may have something as just company. So in those kind of cases, yes, definitely you'll have to re-import the API entity, because the URL, your target URL changes because of the entity name change. So as long as it is not a name change within any of the fields or any of the API level information, I think we are good from an integration standpoint.
Okay, so that means that at time to time, whenever there is SuccessFactors upgrade, we consciously go look at, the field changes. Yeah, we encountered once a scenario.
Yes, Deepa. So in these cases, whenever SuccessFactors sends an upgrade, whoever is the admin of the SAP SF system, not SAP, SF system, they would be receiving an email stating that an upgrade is scheduled at XYZ date and time. And please refer to the release notes. So in the release notes, we tend to search with terms like OData or SF API, and then foundation or MDF. So those kind of things we check and through the release notes, and we tend to figure out that will it have any effect on our current integrations. So SAP clearly lists over there stating that FO company would be now renamed to company because it has moved from a foundation object to an MDF object. So please adjust your integrations accordingly. So they have this kind of a notification over there already.
Okay. And Aditya, just one last question. This prepackaged, talking about the selection conditions, we know there is a standard selection query with those standard parameters. So if you had to further define apart from the standard parameters, is it flexible enough to do it within the packaged integration, or do we have any challenges there?
Yes, Deepa, as of now, it doesn't support any of the custom queries that you may build. So like, for example, I would say there is a standard set on checking the company territory code or the country code, for example, but you wish to still refine the criteria based on the state within that country code. So those kind of things actually it doesn't support as of now.
Okay,
so you have
got
a
it.
set of selection criteria and it just works based on that.
Yeah, this is Sunny here.
Yes, Sunny.
I just wanted to know, how do we handle the environments here? Like in Boomi, we can have a development environment, quality and production, right? So how do we handle that in HCI? Do we have different tenants for different environments?
Yes, that is absolutely correct, Sunny. So we have different tenants, but unlike Boomi, wherein we have control of defining n number of environments for our integration needs,
Right.
SAP only provides us with 2 over here.
Okay.
So you have one as development and test combined, and you have the other one as production.
Okay.
That's it.
Makes sense.
So, any other questions, or should I just move?
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, sure. So over here, now coming back to the iFlow. So we know the artifact that we wish to configure. We know the version. The type here defines that what type of an artifact it is. Is it a value mapping or is it a process integration? These are the 2 types that I have worked with primarily. I'm not sure if there is any third type of artifact, but these are the only two that I have seen in the past and we have configured in the past. So over here, it gives you the action to configure. So once you click on the icon on the very right column, it gives you the actions which you can do. So you can either view the metadata of the iFlow, which gives you that what is the description, what is the sender and the receiver. So as of now, we have not defined anything, so it is coming in as blank. Then the second option it gives you is to configure, and the third is to deploy. So when you click on configure, it gives you all the parameters which are configurable for this particular iFlow. So anybody from Boomi background, they would be easily be able to relate to it, that we have the sender, the receiver, and the parameters. Similarly, in PI also, we have the sending communication channel, the receiver communication channel, and the parameters in case if you have exposed out any of the global variables on the Java virtual machine or JVM somewhere. So those kind of things, you can configure everything as at one shot. Now, the difference that you'll see on a few of them would be, sometimes you'll see this timer, sometimes you won't. This depends on what is the start shape of the iFlow. So many of the iFlows, they may have a web services listener at the very beginning, which listens for any of the incoming calls to process them and return a response. So in those cases, you don't have any timer inside the iFlow. But since this is an EC2 ERP employee data replication, we need to replicate the data at a specific interval of time, or at a particular date and time we need to replicate. So in those kind of cases, we have a timer event which we can configure based on our requirement, like you should always maybe run it once I deploy, then only run it. Otherwise, schedule it on a particular day, date, time, and you can have it recurring every 5 minutes on this particular date. And on this particular date, every 5 minutes, you should replicate it, or do it recurring, like daily, weekly, or monthly, based on your requirements. And the time zone also can be defined over here. Okay. Then any questions on the timer?
Yeah, how do we define, skip Saturday, Sunday, or do we have that options?
Yep, it would be weekdays, I think. Daily, so we have That is something even I'll have to search. So schedule to
No,
read.
no problem, Aditya.
You can click on weekly. Yeah.
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 Perfect. Right. So these are the ones. Okay.
Yeah, you can skip.
Thanks, Shrikant.
How many
So we
threads
can-
can be running at the same time?
I'm sorry, Baka?
I'm just asking technically now. This is a thread safe kind of,
Yep. It's actually timer. Usually, we always set it based on the schedule which has been provided. As of now in HCI, I mean, none of the projects has gone live as of now. So I haven't seen any of where we have scheduled these timers. So
Aditya? Yeah, what I was asking is, this particular functionality, is it thread safe, in the sense that if you're pulling the large data set from success factors or from, the sender system, down to the receiver, and maybe the quality of service, like we have it in, PI balance is UIO, and you're pulling down in batches. Okay,
Yep.
so this functionality is how safe it is. Is this something that's implementable here?
yes, Pakao, it is. It pulls it in batches. That is taken care by the success factors SF API polling mechanism.
Okay.
So whenever we have the SF API polling in, the compound employee query is the starting point for this particular iFlow. So I was one of the fortunate ones to see it develop by SAP.
Okay. So we can put down say in 5,000, 5,000 or 800, in batch.
Yes, it is on the batch size, but the preferable batch size that currently they have set to is 800 records in one batch.
Okay.
Because more than that, it usually tends to time out.
Yeah.
And less than that, actually, it might have multiple calls back and forth from SAP system. So that 800 is a preferred number that we usually go ahead with. In Boomi, usually we set it to the batch size 200 and the query page size also as 200.
Okay.
So that is there in the connector level. So we'll see that in some time.
Okay.
And also, I mean, this particular iFlow, when we see the packaged integration, it works on the Delta mode only.
Okay.
So every time you have scheduled it to run, the next time it runs, it will only capture the deltas. It won't capture the whole population again.
Okay.
Okay. So coming on to the sender, I'm not sure whether all of you might be aware of it, but SuccessFactors recently introduced intelligent services onto their domain. So in SuccessFactors, in provisioning, they have a checkbox for enabling the intelligent services, and we can have multiple events defined in the event notification subscription part of the SuccessFactors front end, not the provisioning, but the front end. So there you can define multiple endpoints for this event notification. So there is this iFlow was recently modified to incorporate that particular push notification capture as well. So what it does is giving you a brief on intelligent services. Let's say whenever a new employee was hired, it triggers an event within the SuccessFactors system, and that checks for external event notification if we have any subscribers for that. If we do, which is nothing but any of the web services listeners which might be hoping to get a message from SuccessFactors for that particular employee. So SuccessFactors pushes onto an XML. It gives you the user ID of the new user which has been created. And that immediately in real time can be replicated onto any of the target systems using this particular prepackaged integration. So the first sender that you see over here, it is the EC push event. And that is the only sender because the other is a timer. So Any questions, any doubts on this intelligence services or the push event?
Is it individual push, or it can push in in batches? Say for instance, at the end of the day, push everything that's been done.
No,
It does it instantaneously in real time.
Yes, in real time, it is an individual push.
So if I were to create 100 employees, so you have to push 100 messages across.
Absolutely.
I would assume we should be able to, configure like a push for maybe 50, 100 or whatever, I mean, anyway, let's assume it's still in progress. I mean.
Yep. So they haven't given any option to hold it in SF and like processing it in batch mode at once.
Okay.
But as of now, it works in real time and it pushes each employee as we go. So it is only a problem during the data loads. So that is the time wherein we either disable the external notification, like we do it for any of the job information related rules that might get triggered. Usually people tend to disable them while loading the data into SuccessFactors system so that it doesn't take a toll on the performance.
Correct.
So similarly, we can also do it for the event notification as well. We can just remove the subscriber for that time and later reactivate it.
Good.
So that is one of the events. I mean, this address is, again, it is configurable. You can have anything over here. So you can type anything that you would like your push event notification endpoint URL to look like. For example, earlier it was just push, and you may want a new kind of a description like new employee replication or something like that, just to differentiate between different events that might be causing this push. So you may tend to replicate terminated employees or change in manager or change in company or change in location. In case of any, I think they are coming up with new events on global assignments as well. So whenever a new global assignment is added, then also a new event would be created in the SF Intelligence Services, and we can go ahead and push it. So ideally, the same iFlow will work absolutely fine for all of them, but we may have, like if you wish to differentiate between the different runs and to see that what kind of data is being pushed, or you want to have the receivers differently for different event notifications. So as I mentioned, you can copy the same packaged integration into under different names, like supplying a suffix _2, 3, 4, and so on, to differentiate between these different push. And hence, you will have the address in accordance. Any questions on that part? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So moving on to the receiver. Now receiver over here, as we know that we are querying and pushing only onto two systems. One is the SuccessFactors and the other is SAP ERP. So for SAP ERP, SAP provides you with a set of standard web services, which are listed in the integration document that is available on the iFlow level itself. So it gives you in the integration guide that what are the different web services which are required for you to configure in the ERP system so that you can receive the employee data. So that particular web service, when you activate, you can enter your SAP ERP endpoint URL over here. Now, there might be cases, I've seen a lot of them, like 99% of the cases, people would not allow any of the calls from over the internet to directly enter into their SAP ERP system. So for that, HCI has provided us with HANA Cloud Connector. And HANA Cloud Connector usually gives us the ability to go ahead and, like it acts as a reverse proxy, another SAP web dispatcher that we have in our landscape. And then in receiver, you can configure this as well as the API query on the SuccessFactors system. So just to check with Raidu and Agni, actually, we have passed on the time. Is it okay if I continue? Does anybody else has any prior engagements?
I thought it was for 2 hours. We're still, I know we started at 8 o'clock and we're still within time.
Okay, I'm good.
We scheduled for, actual calendar is 2 hours, Aditya. But
Okay, then that's good, right? I mean, I just thought that I should take this because I may be moving at a slow pace. So if you feel like that, I thought that I'll cover all of the things in detail and maybe share my knowledge as much as possible. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
some of the things. Okay, sure. So to continue, this is the second receiver. This would be the call to our success factors system. So usually, please do not change the address suffix because it is very specific to the type of call we are making. As I mentioned that we have over here, we are querying from the compound employee API. So that is an SF API in success factors. And that is why this address suffix remains the same. All you need to do is just change the EC base URL, which is your API URL that might be provided by the SAP team. Then you can enter your credential name. So in HCI, we do not enter the user ID and password over here directly. We deploy it as a security artifact onto the tenant. So SAP provides you with the different types of options to deploy the security artifacts. Like you can have user ID and password for success factors. So that also requires you to enter a company ID for authentication purposes. Then it also supports the OData authorization 2.0, OAuth 2.0. Then it supports the normal basic authorization that we have or authentication that we have, the user ID and password, simple user ID and password, usually used for HTTP terms. So all these we can deploy it onto the tenant and just give it a name, something like SF_login_credentials, and we can enter it over here. So the credential that you would have deployed, you can enter the credential name over here. So this gives you the different receivers that we can configure. And the last one is the parameters. As I mentioned, that these are a few of the parameters which are mostly available in Boomi as environment extensions. So over here also, these are known as externalized parameters, which are available for the external user to be able to configure the parameters. So we can enter what are the different filter criteria that you would like to leave on the iFlow.
Okay, Aditya, just a quick check from me. I mean, for the under the receiver configuration, yeah, yep. Can you just check the adapter type? Do you have any other options apart from success factors?
No. It usually gives you, I mean, this would have been pre-configured in the iFlow itself. So like, for example, we have the communication channel, which is already pre-configured in PI. So if you have configured it once on your design level, then for the external users, you only give the additional parameters to be maintained.
Okay, like if we did it like a template, a channel template, you know, during the design. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but if I can change this, you know, if I had to copy it and, you know, maybe I want to send it to JMS, for instance, you know, instead of an ACC or a success factors.
Yep. So in that case, Bakao, as I mentioned, that SAP currently doesn't allow it to be downloaded and modified as well.
Okay.
So we can't download it. We can only view the source. We cannot make any changes to it.
Correct.
So viewing the source is good because, because it gives you an insight on where the iFlow might have failed or might have missed out on the processing. So this is the configuration part that we have. Now I'll just cancel the changes. Okay. And now moving on to the third step is nothing but to deploy it onto the tenant. So once you're all set with the configuration details and everything seems to be in line, you can go ahead and deploy. And once we deploy the iFlow onto the tenant, it runs based on the schedule that you have provided. Or in other cases, like we also saw that there was a push notification enabled in this. So it gives you an endpoint URL, which would be used for accessing this particular service or iFlow. So it is a web services listener. So when you want to configure it into the SuccessFactors system, it gives you that endpoint URL, which you can use to configure. And apart from these three options, you can always click on the artifact name. It takes you inside the design part of the iFlow. So it gives you how exactly the iFlow is designed, in case if you would like to see that, for example, there might be a script which would be processing a few of the data which are not in accordance with your business requirements. So you can always come here and check that how is it processing? Is there anything that can be done at the source or at the target? Otherwise, if you would like to design an iFlow based on this, your custom iFlow, you can take cues from the SAP build. So it gives you view-only authorization on these. Okay. And this also gives you a basic idea on how the iFlows in HCI look, in case if anybody has missed out on this. This is how we'll cover up all the shapes maybe tomorrow, or how the agenda is, but all these shapes would be covered in there. So that is your, that covers the design part as well. Now moving on to the third part, which is monitor. So once you have deployed the iFlow or the artifacts, then you can always go ahead and monitor it from the web UI itself. So instead of going into Eclipse, connecting to the operations server, and then going into message monitoring or checking the deployed artifacts. So to avoid all those, you'll always have information at your fingertips. Whenever you need it, it is available on demand. So it gives you the message monitoring, the message processing monitor, which gives you the details of how all the integration flows in the past are. You can change these configuration settings. So you can edit them. Instead of past hour, you can make it 24 hours, week, month, things like those. So you can edit these tiles. And you can add new tiles in case if you do not want to change any of the tiles provided by SAP. Then that is for the message processing monitor. And then you have the managing the integration content. So this integration content gives you all the iFlows and the security, not the security, I'm sorry, all the iFlows and the value mappings that you might have deployed onto your tenant. So if we click on, let's say we have 38 artifacts deployed. So when I click on this 38, it takes me to a list of all the artifacts. So it gives you the status, that what is the status on this particular artifact? Has it been started? Started is the actual desired status that we would like to see on every artifact. And it gives you the type of artifact below it, like it is an integration flow. So in case if you see any of the things are in error, you can click on those and it gives you the error over here. There is some issue with the trust managers. So this is the managing part of the integration content. It gives you all the whole holistic view of all the iFlows and the value mappings on your system as of now, on your tenant, I'm sorry, as of now. Moving on to the next one, then you can also see that how many have started, how many are in error, or different statuses, how many have failed or something like that. Then the third part is you can manage the security material. So as I mentioned, the security material, we have different credential types supported by HCI. So we usually have the credentials deployed onto the tenant before we deploy any of the iFlows, because whatever are the user ID and password combinations that we wish to use in the iFlow to connect to different systems, they need to be deployed onto the tenant. And HCI does not expect anything to be entered manually while you're executing the process. It just comes over here, gets the credentials from this security material store, and then takes the values from there. And then they also have the certificate to user mappings. So these are a few of the mappings wherein you can, So let's say, for example, you have one of the web services exposed out of the HCI system, and it has a server certificate installed. So the client certificate that you pass on to any of the third-party applications that would like to utilize this HCI web service, so you may have those certificates digitally signed by the user. So you can have a user signature over there, like a user and a unique identifier. For example, Aditya 123. So that user and certificate, that which is the valid certificate to which this particular user signature has authorization to or authentication permissions to, can be defined over here. So you can import the data over here, you can add it, you can choose the certificate, you can choose the username, and username could be anything with different encoding. So the same username, user signing would be verified when it adds to basically another level of security onto the web services call. So that is the monitor part in a nutshell. I know it may not look much, but it gives you a good insight within what is going on in your tenant and what kind of different things we have running or we can look into.
Aditya?
Yes, Bakal.
Yeah, this particular view shows all the integration flows running. Is there any way to filter it to a particular iFlow?
Yes, absolutely. So you can add a new tile and you can select the artifact that you wish to check.
Correct, good, fantastic, okay.
LMS user info.
Okay.
Things like this. So usually we don't change the first 5 because they are provided by SAP, and it is good to have a screenshot of what exactly is the system state as of now.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Always we tend to add new tiles to it so that we can define our own custom criteria for a particular iFlow or thing.
You know, sometimes when you're firefighting, you know, you need to quickly narrow down to, you know, where the fire is happening. So that
Yep. Okay, so that is the monitor part. And the last one is the settings that we have. So these are the profiles or the settings. So I'm not sure why this has been provided. I have never had a chance to even review it with anyone. This is just a future
roadmap.
Yeah, maybe it is to be included in a future roadmap wherein they will provide us with different tenant settings over here itself.
Okay.
So like giving access to people, creating new users, changing their roles. Currently, they give you an HCP cockpit for managing the HCI tenant. So later on, they would be providing you much more to do in this settings tab. But as of now, it has only one product profile view of your system. So I'm not sure on this, what exactly it is used for. So later on, like currently we deploy all the certificates directly onto the tenant after discussing with SAP or requesting them to upload it to the tenant trust store. So maybe in the settings, they will give you a view of the security artifacts or the certificates or the trust store view of the tenant. Okay. So any questions on the web UI part?
Yeah, Aditya, Rajdeep here.
Yes, Rajdeep.
Okay, just a quick one. Can you go back to the design part?
Okay.
Here in okay, we had that sender and receiver, right? So for Employee Central to SAP ERP.
Yep. I'll go into the configure part as well quickly.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So what I've understood is this particular prepackaged content is to integrate is to push the data from SAP SuccessFactors Employee Central to SAP ERP system, right?
Yes.
So, so we can make use of intelligence services as well, but that's a different story. So here the sender is. Can you just click on the drop down of sender? I just wanted to see it all. Okay, so it's just EC push event. So that means it will capture the. It may capture any event, is it, or it will capture a block of events and it will send. Means what sort of information is this EC push event? I wanted to
So
understand.
this is just a logical system definition over here. So they have just defined one of the senders as a push event from SF.
Okay.
So the definition or the configuration of the push event is done in SuccessFactors.
I see.
But here the sender part, it just says that, okay, what is the address that you wish to push it to?
Okay, understood. Understood. So when it is at when EC push event is configured at SuccessFactors, that means this is what it will have. And at the receiver side, we'll go and we'll configure the parameters from ERP system. Is it so? At the receiver side.
On the receiver side, you also have the receiver as one of the API queries. So SuccessFactors is also one of the receivers wherein we are querying the data from.
Yeah. So my doubt is, how do we push data? I mean, the destination system. Where do we configure the settings of SAP ERP system?
Okay, SAP ERP actually this is the only the endpoint URL you configure over here and the authentication. All the configuration, the rest of the web services activation, etc., would be done using the SICF in your or SOA manager in your ERP system.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Aditya, just a quick question here. You mentioned earlier that you can do OAuth2. Okay, is there any restrictions as to the provider you can use, or I don't know whether SAP itself provides OAuth2 service?
Well, over here, whenever it is SOAP-based adapter for, I'm sorry, I'll go to this. Whenever it is SuccessFactors adapter for SOAP, we usually make use of the SuccessFactors credentials always.
Okay.
In case of OData as well, SOAP and OData, whenever we have SuccessFactors adapter, always we'll make use of SuccessFactors credential type. For OAuth, it is like, for example, when you are connecting to the LMS system. So the SuccessFactors LMS system gives you some kind of an OAuth technique. So they will share the client secret with you, and then you can generate the authorization token, and then you can use the authorization in your. So instead of going through with all those steps, you can directly create an OAuth 2.0 authentication credential, and it will authenticate directly.
Okay.
So LMS is another instance apart from EC, which is on a different box altogether, not on the same box as EC. So they have different mechanisms on how to access their APIs, and though they also support the OData version 2 as of now, but they have many differences when it comes to upserting or querying the data. They only support JSON formats. I haven't seen any of the XML details coming in from them as of now. So I'm not sure, maybe they might have made a few of the changes, but usually it's the JSON format that we deal with. Okay.
Thanks, Aditya.
Thank you.
Sure, Rajdeep, not a problem. So that's it. Web UI is covered. Now coming on to cloud integration versus the traditional integration mechanisms that we have. So this is a very many of the people, they are always curious about why to go ahead with cloud integration. What difference does it make if we are doing things on cloud? So usually whenever, when I was designing the system architecture or solutions architecture, so as to say, for the Timken company, which was my previous employer. So during that time, even the security team, they had a notion that why are you going ahead with cloud integration when we already have SAP PI in our landscape? So that time it was a different case because back in 2013, SAP never came ahead with the success factors adapter or access adapter was not much matured at that point in time, though they told that you can go ahead and make use of the access adapter to connect to success factors. But it wasn't a feasible solution, and we had our go live terms approaching. So the only difference that I see usually in the cloud and the traditional middlewares is that in cloud, the headache of or the pain of managing ensuring that the server is always up and running lies onto the cloud service provider, which is the case with almost all the other applications. But in integrations, it matters a lot because integrations are usually transactional data. So you are transacting between two systems at that given point in time. It may be a master data transaction or it may be a transactional data transaction, but sorry, but we are usually dealing in transaction modes. So it matters a lot because let's say if there is a partial load that has happened for one of the files and you already deleted the file, so you lost half the data. If there was a full file being processed and you had the logic to delete the source file at the very end, so still X number of records have been processed from that file, but there's no count available to you to ensure that, okay, these are the records which have been updated. The only way is to manually binary search the file and then take a user ID and just check it in the end system, whether it has been updated or not. So these kind of risks make it better to go ahead with the cloud integration, though it has its own demerits, like it has the processing speed can be lower at times. I've seen in many of the traditional on-premise integration tools. But we also need to understand that HCI and Boomi primarily, whenever we integrate with success factors, the additional advantage they provide is that instead of just transforming the data, you can also validate the data and you can merge the data with from different sources and you can post them into different target systems. So all these capabilities are provided into one integration flow. So you can have, instead of point to point, you can have multi-point receivers to multi-point senders or senders to multi-point receivers. So these are a few of the things. They are less complex, though we can have these kind of scenarios in our traditional on-premise integration tools as well. But these are a few of the things that make it better to go ahead with cloud integration rather than going ahead with the traditional on-premise integration tools. Now, as I mentioned that many of the clients, they also have an issue with the calls coming in directly over the internet into their landscape. The second case is that they don't want their data to be going through the internet onto any of the file servers or let's say Boomi server or HCI server, which can then be pushed onto EC. So these kind of cases also, SAP has ensured that they are providing us with transport layer security as well as secure socket layers for the two systems to interact within each other. Like for example, for HCI, they have provided us with HANA Cloud Connector. So the connectivity between HCI and HCC is very secure and they maintain the security levels of the bank transaction level security they have in their HCI to HCC connectivity. Until and unless you are not just going ahead with the basic user authorization, if you are making use of TLS and SSL, that actually adds on to the benefits that cloud service providers provide us. And with more and more organizations moving towards the cloud, it is always beneficial to have a cloud middleware in the system landscape so that all the future needs also would be sufficed by the one, rather than having multiple or a bifurcation of interfaces within the on-premise and the cloud platforms. So any other doubts you may have or questions or queries on cloud integration versus traditional middlewares?
Okay, my take is, Aditya, on a lighter note, what happens to all the SAP basis consultants, PR administrators out there, how do they eat? How do they feed their families? When
well, Bakao, everybody has to adapt with change. Like, I mean, I started my career from with ABAP and PI. So I got trained in PI, but when I knew that SAP PI is a very mature product and it is not a niche skill as of now, though we know that there are a few cases wherein you may require SME help, but when we see the market all over the globe, so as to say, the number of SAP PI consultants versus the number of SAP HCI or Boomi consultants is a bit less. Is a bit more than them. So similarly for the basis consultants also, I mean, I would say that it doesn't mean that they would be not required at a given point in time, because even for the transports and transport management and the system patch upgradation, etc., which is taken care by SAP, they do not, how do I say, I mean, in terms of SAP person, he himself told me that we can provide you that service, but I'm sure you are not going to like it. So that is the way they have portrayed it, because if you wish to move one transport, let's say from dev to quality system, their SLA is 2 days. And it's ideally a 10 to 15 seconds worth of job. So those kind of cases are still there. Many of the things we may not think, I mean, we should not be thinking that it would take away their jobs altogether, but also they would have different options to move into. So it provides us different opportunities if they are adaptable to the change.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I'm just looking at the scenario, down the line in the next, 5,
No,
6, 7.
I agree. It actually reduces the need of the basis consultants. Like if we have 20, you may just need 2.
Correct.
So it reduces the need of them altogether, but yes.
Yeah, I think one other thing that I would like to add, from, I mean, the literature out there is with the cloud integration platforms, the total cost of ownership, the infrastructure is actually, greatly reduced, because it's more or less like a one-time expenditure. And once it's done, SAP takes care of everything, like, when you have the on-premise where you still have to pay for the upgrade, you still have to pay for this, pay for that, download this notes, to upgrade the system, or download the SCAR files to upgrade, the systems and all that. So I think I would like to assume that all of those upgrades, in terms of the, basis infrastructure itself, will be handled by SAP at no additional cost. So, I mean, it might just be one of the value points, or, the selling point of cloud integration if you are making your proposal, to the client.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah. It eases, it makes our lives easier as a developer, I would say.
But not for the basis guys. I mean, I've had interaction with them, and that's just a fear. Yeah, people that have been doing basis for close to 15 years, and they're looking at this and they're saying, "Where are we going?"
Yep.
Okay, guys, it's 9:35, so we have another 25 minutes left. Aditya.
So just to give you a Bakao, just to give you another story is, as Aditya said, you have to be flexible for a change. Okay.
Yeah.
So, even robotic automation, you know what? They are going to pull out millions of jobs by using robotics. Right now, that's the revolution. And HCI is nothing in front of that right now. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
okay. Sure. So I'll just go ahead and move on to the next topic. Sorry, I was about to mention different. So it is the introduction to Eclipse, how to install and uninstall the plugins that we have in the system. So please let me know when you're able to view the Eclipse screen.
Yeah, we are able to view the screen.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and maybe share the whole desktop. That would make my life easy. Yeah. Sorry, See this. Okay, I'll just have. Okay, so this is the Eclipse screen for all of you who might not have viewed the basic settings in Eclipse. Even I'm not an expert in Eclipse. I just know I just followed the instructions provided by the SAP guide that what are the different plugins that you wish to install. Because I'm not a Java person, though I have done my hands full in Groovy and Java scripting, but I'm not a core Java person. Personally, I don't like Eclipse that much because it has given us a lot of troubles in the past, or maybe it is because of the kind of tools that SAP has provided onto this. So anyway, we just go to the help menu and we click on install new software. And here it will give you different types of sites, like SAP has given us tools.hana.com, hana.ondemand.com. / based on your current Eclipse version. If it is Mars or Luna, you can select that. And you will have different tools provided for the HCI. So you can see the SAP HANA Cloud Integration tools that you can download from SAP Marketplace. And these tools aid in the development and the validation or compilation of the artifacts that we are going to create in Eclipse. So this is the first step that we do whenever you install an Eclipse fresh on your machine. You need to install the software onto Eclipse. This takes some amount of time. Once the tools have been installed on your particular Eclipse version, you can go ahead and go to Window and go to the preferences that you have. So it gives you all the different preferences from all the tools that you have. And here you'll find a tab for SAP HANA Cloud Integration. Over there, all we need to do is we need to configure the URL to your operations server on HCI. If you have any of the doubts, always go ahead with your HCI front-end login, copy the URL from there, and just keep the host name. Remove everything apart from the host name, and you can just keep the host name and copy it. Oops. And you can paste it over here. And then enter the user ID and password that might have been provided to you by SAP as the initial admin, or your team's point of contact might have provided you. Once you have entered these details, all you need to do is just test the connection that you are able to connect to the operations server and just hit OK. So all the development that we have in Eclipse on the SAP HCI, that is done in the integrations designer perspective of Eclipse. So again, we go to Window, we click on, we hover on Perspective, open Perspective, and then click on Other. And it will give you the perspective of Integration Designer. So in Integration Designer, we can design the artifacts. In Integration Operations, it usually gives you the view of monitoring, like it gives you the tail log in case if any deployment has failed. It gives you different component status view. It gives you the message monitoring view. It shows the tenant management nodes and everything. So usually these things can be manually added into Integration Designer as well. So you can just open the Integration Designer perspective. And once that has been opened, click on the restore window and it opens the Integration Designer perspective for you. So at the bottom, you can see it gives you a node explorer. So the first thing is your tenant name, which is E2010 in this case. Then it gives you a tenant management node, which is the worker node for your tenant, which manages the load on the tenant and also tries to delegate it to different IFL map nodes. Now, as of now, SAP is providing at the max 2 tenant management nodes per customer, but their plan going down the line is that these would be dynamically assigned based on the data loads on different customer tenants. So these tenant management nodes are irrespective of the tenant that they are working on. they are trying to create a central repository and kind of like getting them into a master-slave relationship, so that one can act as a server, the other can act as a client, and basically a failover mechanism on these tenant managements. Then the IFL map node is the one which acts as a web services node. It gives you all the web services that you have exposed out of your HCI system, and what are the endpoint URLs of that. So when you click on services, you can see that this is one of the web service that has been configured, and this is the endpoint URL. So if you remember the push notification that we are talking about, so the URL up till CXF remains the same. It is constant across your tenant. Only the /SF_LMS that you see, this is the URL endpoint that you can configure over there in your configure window. So instead of /push, you can have it as /emp data replication or something like that. So it will, in case if we would have deployed that particular process onto our tenant, it would be listed over here as one of the endpoints, or one of the endpoints of the web services which are hosted out of HCI. So this is the Eclipse overview that I know of on the perspectives and the different views that we have. Later on, we can always come on to component status, the task view, the problems, the console. I mean, we have people who have worked on Java applications, so you might be very well versed with Eclipse. So in case if I'm going wrong anywhere, you can also correct me. Please feel free to pitch in if I'm going wrong anywhere. Okay.
Okay, Aditya, those endpoints, are they inbound or they're purely outbound endpoints?
Inbound, I mean, these are the web services which are exposed out of HCI. So,
okay, so
any external system
outbound.
can, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure of any of the inbound. I mean, how would you define an inbound endpoint?
So for instance, if you are doing an SF back to SF, say, you have a website that's doing an inbound back into success factors. We had a couple of scenarios before where we had to do, some kind of an upset back into success factors. So I'm just curious as to,
Okay, those are actually configured on the sender and receiver level. So these are only the web services which are available in HCI.
Okay.
Anybody from external system can give a call to.
Okay. Good.
So again, these endpoints, they can be secure based on certificate authentication or else role-based authentication. So you can create different users in HCI which have either, let's say, for example, if I have my user ID, I may not have the access to execute any of the web services in HCI. So whenever you are communicating the user ID and password to the end systems who would be calling these web services, we need to ensure that there is a certain set of permissions granted already to those user IDs. Otherwise, they won't be able to execute any of these web services in HCI. Okay. So this is tenant management IFL map. Then also, once we have installed the tools and we are in the perspective, it gives you an option of creating a new integration project. So this is integration project is purely integrations designer perspectives option. So once you click on it, you can enter the project name like POC Training. And then you can choose what type of a project is it. Is it a value mapping or is it an integration flow? So we'll choose integration flow. You can click on next, and it gives you that what should be, since that was the earlier one that we entered POC_training, that was the name of the package. So you can have the iFlow, which you will be monitoring in your message monitor. You can have it different over here. So you can have POC training. Usually we tend to keep them same, but if you want, you can differentiate it. Always, I've seen that people tend to select different templates. So these are basically the templates view that SAP has provided us with. So it gives you all these encoder, decoder, then multiple interfaces, multiple receivers, and then you also have multiple senders. So content filters, etc. So we usually go ahead with the point-to-point channel because it's easier to design. It gives you a very basic view of an iFlow, and then you can keep adding your receivers or senders or any of the systems that you wish to at later point in times. So you can even have the SAP defined templates you can create from any one of those, or otherwise you can define your own templates and you can store it, store any of the iFlow as a template, and it can be made available over here. So usually we go ahead with the point-to-point channel. So once you have done this, it will create all the different folders which are required. So if you see, these are the basic folders that it creates. One is the integration flow. Then you have the mapping steps, if any, and the WSDLs if you'd be using, because like PI, SAP PI, HCI also works primarily on the XML data only. So till the point the sending system has sent the data, the first step should be that you need to convert it to XML if it is into any other format, and then take it further, or else you can write your scripts to handle the, let's say, text data or JSON format data. You can write scripts in Groovy and JavaScripting, but ideally, wherever you wish to use any of the standard shapes, they only go ahead with the XML type of data. Otherwise, you will always receive an error that it is a malformed URI or malformed data provided. So this is how the view in Eclipse is for the iFlow. I mean, you might have seen this earlier. This was my first experience with Eclipse, so I'm not sure whether other projects are also so workflow-like in Eclipse, but all the iFlows that we design primarily, they are all a sequential flow diagram kind of thing. Sorry. So it gives you the basic shapes as we selected point-to-point channel. So it is the sender, then you have the channel of sender, then you have receiver and the channel of receiver, and that should do it. That's it. We can always add different shapes from the right-hand side. We have a palette defined for us, wherein you have different type of connectors. You can have sequence flow, message flow. Then you also have integration process in case if you wish to create a new process. So this is like a local process, a sub-process, so as to say, wherein you can call the same functionality multiple times, like transforming a social security number for a person. So those kind of functionalities, instead of implementing it at each and every point, you can just do it over here. Then you also have exception sub-process is something we may have to discuss in detail. Then you have other receivers and sender systems in case if you would like to add them. Though logically, it's always good to differentiate between the different logical systems that you are interacting with. But technically, it doesn't make any difference. So as long as, for example, this is an SFTP channel and this is an SFTP receiver, you can also have a node going in to the same for success factors as well. Because technically, it doesn't make any difference. We are just trying to give a call to success factors system. The URL and the endpoint details are entered in the channel. But logically, it's advised that you should always create another receiver and rename it as receiver_SF, so that you can differentiate based on the number of connections and how well the integration is performing. So it's good to have something like this. But technically, it's one and the same thing. So it's up to you whether you wish to create it or not. So that is done. Eclipse. Then perspectives we have covered as well. Then operation, IDE, the node structure, the monitoring, the traces. Monitoring and traces, maybe we'll have to take it in the details, in the detailed session in the forthcoming days, because monitoring and traces is one of the functionalities which has to be enabled by SAP. So we need to raise a ticket to SAP stating that we need trace authorization on our user ID on this tenant, and they will only give it to us for 1 week, and after that we need to again raise a ticket for the next week, because enabling the trace logs is one of the functionality which causes the node overhead, and it stores in a lot of data, because we can log the body, we can log the header, we can log the messages flowing in and out of HCI, and it also doesn't add to the level of security that is desired by the clients. Because if we log the body somewhere in the message processing log, so anybody who has access to HCI would have access to the confidential data that we are processing in HCI. So that is the reason they don't tend to give it for more than a week. Okay, so those things. Yes, Pakal?
Just a quick question on that. When you say anybody that has access to ACI, you mean anybody that has just any access, not to this particular tenant?
Well, yes, you need to have access to this tenant, because you will be tracing the iFlows into this tenant only. So if you have access to this tenant, then you can go ahead and raise a ticket with SAP based on the user ID, user ID that we have. We can create a ticket to SAP stating that we need trace authorization on XYZ tenant.
No, I'm actually just seeking clarifications. When you said, have access to the trace logs, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Do you mean that if I'm working as part of a team working on this particular tenant, I could have access to the messages, that have been generated from a particular iFlow, but not somebody who doesn't have access to, not somebody who's not a member of this tenant, of this, particular implementation?
Absolutely. So trace authorization is enabled on user ID level. It is not enabled on the tenant level.
Okay.
So only the users with the specific authorizations would be able to view the traces in HCI. Otherwise, it is like a black box to everyone else.
Yeah, I think Rajdeep has a question.
Yes, Rajdeep, please go ahead.
Thanks. Aditya, can you please go back to Eclipse for a minute? Yeah. So here I see, for instance, there's a receiver one, and logically we have configured the other one, receiver underscore SF. So does this imply that we are doing it one-to-many sort of integration? Like one is like sender, and there are multiple receivers, something like that?
Yes, absolutely. So Rajdeep, I'm sorry, I don't remember. Have you worked in Boomi?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Then.
But I have an idea. I've worked with integration team, so I have an idea.
Okay, then that's perfect. So actually over here, between the start and end shape, we can have n number of senders and receivers. So now when I say senders, it only implies when you are trying to enrich the content. We'll come to that shape, but it's just a small thing. For example, you have employee data, like you have the cost center information. So it will only give you, the employee data will only have the cost center code. But as a business person, how do I know that what this code corresponds to? So I need a description of the cost center. So I need to enrich the data which is coming in.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, I will still have a receiver system which will act as a sender, because that time I will query the information and I will enrich the data into my iFlow. And at the same time, usually the trigger mechanism remains only one. Like here, it is a channel. It can be a SOAP channel, which is a web service, or it can be, let's say, directly a query from SuccessFactors, which pushes the data into it, or it can be a query from any of the system. So the trigger point remains only one, the start message, but the rest of the things you can have multiple. So you can enrich it from multiple sources, you can pass it on to multiple sources. Like I have created a file for error logs, and at the same time I was inserting into SuccessFactors, so that becomes a receiver. And at the same time I was sending an email. So file onto SFTP, email as one of the receivers, and SuccessFactors as the third receiver. So you can have multiple. Yes.
Yes, yeah. So it's if I understand it correct, it's as good as we are joining a couple of tables and creating a new table and entering the data there, which is in
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And now when we see into this functionality, that is where I feel that when I was mentioning about the traditional middlewares we have, so this is the functionality that makes things complicated into any of the traditional middlewares that I've seen. Combining data from multiple sources, either you need to have an intermediate place to store them, whereas over here, it is all in one flow. So everything is coming in, you are adding the information and the flow is going on.
So Aditya, if you just open one, just go and open one new integration project under the file menu. Yes. I mean, I'm sorry if this is not the one. We had got a couple of point-to-point channel and content-based router. So when we have many-to-one or one-to-many, be whatsoever the case is, we'll always have to use point-to-point and make such configurations. Is something like that, or we can make use of these options?
You can use the second option. For example, I'll just show you.
Okay.
If you open a test, so it just has a route. Still, you need to configure all these things. So here you'll define the routing conditions based on what is the expression. So let's say, for example, you select route 1, then you enter over here that user ID / text.
Okay.
Equal to Aditya. So if it is not equal to Aditya, then it goes on to route 1. Otherwise, and things like those. So instead of, I mean, this seems to be a bit, how do you say it? Somebody has suggested it already. So that is why I just mentioned that, okay, go ahead with point-to-point, and these things you can always drag from here. Like, for example, if we were to drag a router, the same condition, I will drag it from here, I'll still have multiple channels.
Okay. So it's as good as we understand the business situation or business scenario and use the best template available here. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Usually, point-to-point is the preferred approach. Yeah.
So we can customize it according to our need. Yeah. That's what. All right. Great. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Rajiv. So Aditya, I see
Yes,
Graciela and Vincent. These two participants have joined in late. So welcome, Graciela, and welcome, Vincent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So actually, I think all the topics as of today have been covered. So any questions on any of the, I mean, general questions also, we can have a discussion.
Sure, yeah.
Anything, any queries, any doubts you may have regarding HCI?
Okay, this is Bakar once again. I just want to find out from your, previous project experiences, in terms of performance, integration project compared to, I mean, when you compare the performance you get from the cloud project to the on-premise platforms, okay? Can you share your experience with us? Because that's one of the key, difficult subjects to discuss with a potential client. So can you share your experience with us?
Sure, Bakal. So usually we have comparisons. Now that it is HCI, people do compare it with Boomi, because Boomi has more success rate in terms of projects who have already went live in the past. HCI is not that matured a product, and not many clients have already are live working on HCI in their production systems. So when I compare with Boomi, I see that a few of the functionalities might be missing in HCI, but from performance standpoint, it is definitely faster than Boomi when it comes on to message processing, the scripting steps, the mappings, and the overall process execution. it rarely takes, for a single employee data, it rarely takes 1 second, more than 1 second or 2 seconds, until unless you have a lot of complicated mappings and a lot of complicated scripting written in your iFlow. And also the number of requests that you are making to any of the receiver or sender systems, that also takes a toll on performance. But on an average, in a very simplistic scenario, I believe that the processing power, because it is built on HANA, it is a lot better than any of the other middlewares that I've seen. When we come on to on-premise systems, when clients do compare HCI with PI, so we tell them the benefits as in HCI, as I mentioned, you can have multiple validations, you can write error log files, you can compile the messages according to your need, you can send across emails. It's fairly very easy to configure in HCI. Whereas in PI, if you were to do it, you need to create a lot of components, and a person who has extensive working experience in PI would be comfortable doing those, but managing the content or support part is usually a bit tough in the SAP PI landscape than in HCI. Because HCI, it gives you an overview of an integration flow, how the message is flowing, what are the different conditions attached, wherever, what are the conditional receivers, or what are the different receivers configured. These kind of things are fairly easy to manage in HCI. So,
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you,
That's a fair point. Yeah.
So yeah, from the POET team, Chad, do you have any questions, IAC or Tricia? Or anybody from the POET team?
Maybe good.
Yeah.
Yes, Sunny.
I said I'm good.
Okay. Chad, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I think this was very useful. Thanks.
Okay. Tricia?
Okay.
No questions.
That's good. So do you all think this is the first session, and I really liked it, the way Aditya drove us. Is there anything need to be changed? Anyone has any question or concern on the flow of the training, so that we can take those inputs and incorporate them from our next class? So anyone has any concern or any questions or anything which need to be, incorporated into the training, or this is good? Is everybody able to understand? Everybody able to grasp what's going on?
Here I do. Thanks for asking this. Rajdeep here. So
Yeah.
the training went very well when it comes to the first session. So I was just thinking if we can get a recording link of this session at the end of every session, so that I can just go through it afterwards and take out all the important points and sort of revise it after every session and before coming to the next session. So it will help me out to understand it better.
We are recording this session, Rajdeep, and we will put these recordings in one place, one folder, and I will have Agni to distribute those recordings.
Yeah. So my request is, can we have it on session by session basis, so that I can just review the recording before I come to the next session?
Yeah, I think we can do that. We can do that, no problem. So I will revert on that. I'll talk to Aditya and I'll revert to you. If it is yes, we can do it. We'll do it right away. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So anyone has anything to say?
Hey, this is Chad. I think one thing that will probably benefit everybody, there's a lot of Boomi developers here. So I think maybe some of the concepts, if we can show the differences between Boomi and HCI, like not all the time, but, at least some specific concepts, like, I think that'll be useful.
Absolutely, and Aditya is an expert in Delbumi. He can easily do that. Aditya?
Yeah, sure, Chad. Thanks a lot for that suggestion. I was planning on incorporating the differences as we move on with the shapes.
Right.
So like when we'll be designing our first iFlow, after I have, maybe during that time itself, when I'm covering the palette items, which we can drag onto our iFlow, during that time, maybe I can compare it with Boomi and will
Yeah,
be able to
absolutely.
sort things like those. Yeah.
Yep. And I was just thinking of the question that Bokawa asked about the inbound and outbound, right? And the endpoint URL. So I think that would be like, maybe that's an example of, we can see the difference, how it's set up in, both environments.
For sure. We'll do that.
So on the recordings, I just wanted to let everybody know that even if we share the recordings, those recordings are strictly confidential, only to POIT and Stixes. I would not encourage anybody to distribute outside of POIT and Stixes. Okay?
Yes, understood, definitely. Yeah.
And then Aditya, I think we are end of the session, right? Today's session.
Yes, Raidu. I think all the things are covered. Only the monitoring and traces, maybe we can do it after the iFlows.
We will cover that probably later.
Yeah.
Okay, when we have those access to the traces. Okay.
Okay.
Now I want Vincent to stay back. Deepa, Aditya, Deepika, and Sudhir. If you could stay back, we would like to discuss about Vincent, about Temasek performance issue, what we have done so far. EX also should be there on the call, and remaining can drop out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, everybody, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aditya.
Thank you, Aditya. Nice one. Good job.
Thank you.
Great, Aditya. Bye-bye. See you
Thanks a
tomorrow.
lot. See you.